So today you're reading from Highland Conquest, book one of the Sons of Sinclair series. And just to whet our appetites, I'm going to give the blurb. So, Cain Sinclair has a plan. In order to finally bring peace to his clan, he will wed the young female chief of their greatest enemy. Only problem? Capturing her and forcing her back to Sinclair Castle doesn't exactly make her want to say yes. Ella Sutherland may be clever, passionate, and shockingly beautiful, but what she isn't is willing. Every attempt Cain makes to woo her seems to backfire on him. A gift, the kitten practically claws his eyes out. A competitive game of chess, even when he wins, he loses. It seems the only time the two ever see eye to eye is when they're heating up Cain's bed. Still, the only thing Ella truly wants is the one thing he cannot offer her: freedom. But when Cain discovers she's been harboring a secret, one that could threaten both clans' very existence, he'll have to decide between peace for the Sinclairs or the woman who has captured his heart. So that's exciting. Heather, can you set up this scene you're about to read?
Well, first, I want to tell you about the series in general. It's a 5-book series, so it's a complete series, and it's about 4 brothers and a sister, but 4 brothers who are raised to be the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. They're not, but their father felt when his wife died giving birth to the 4th son that the world was coming to an end. This was the end of days, and so he raised his 4 sons to be conquest, war, justice, and death. So Cain is conquest, which is Highland Conquest. Okay. So conquest is all about taking. Love is all about giving. So when he wants to finally win the greatest prize of all, which is love, it totally turns his life upside down. Okay.
Yeah.
So So I had a different scene picked out, and then I changed it like 15 minutes ago. So I'm a pantser, by the way. I write by the seat of my pants. So I guess I kind of read by, I choose these things. All right. So in this scene, there's going to be right before the scene and then after, and it has to do with a gift, which is mentioned in the blurb. His brother is Gideon. He's the 3rd brother. He's the horseman of justice, which the 3rd book is about. So he's more of he's like the lawyer of the family. You know, he's all about judging, justice, everything's black and white, but he has sort of a dry kind of humor. But okay, so in this, they're talking, okay, over a chess game, which Cain always wins chess because he's been raised to learn all the conquest strategies and so forth. But okay, so Cain says, and I'm not going to try to sound Scottish. Okay. I will woo her, Cain said, and picked up his ale next to his chair to take a drink. Gideon laughed. Woo her? What do you know about wooing a lass, big brother? All the lasses you have known fall into your bed with a mere glance. It was true that he hadn't had to work at swaying a woman into a tryst before, but that didn't mean he was a wet behind the ears lad. I could say the same about you, Cain said. Aha, but I am not attempting to woo a lass who would rather stab me than kiss me. Gideon moved his rook. Cain took another drink, moving another pawn. I will create and employ a strategy like any other conquest. Oh, Gideon said, his brow rising. How so? Cain set the tankard back down by his chair leg. I will challenge all her reasons for finding me wanting. She will see my charm and strength. I will gentle her like an unruly mare and take her to my bed. Cain crossed his arms over his chest. I will win her love like I win everything else. The side of Gideon's mouth turned upward into a lopsided grin. I don't know much about women, Gideon said, at least the marrying type, but it seems women do not respond well to gentling. They are not horses. True, Cain said, moving his knight. Then I will treat our interactions like battles, for we are at war. He nodded, his mind calming with the familiar set of strategies he used in combat. I will determine what resources I have to woo her, anticipate her defenses, circumvent them, and press forward. Gideon stared at him, his mouth open, his smile skewed with humor. This will be fun to watch. I will start by giving her a reason to live, because she had been saying, I'd rather die than marry you. Cain was feeling better with each word he spoke. This was a battle of a different kind than he'd fought in the past, but it was a battle nonetheless. Have the wedding banns posted on the chapel door near Dunrobin and read each Sunday for 3 weeks in our own. The young Pastor John can read them at each chapel he visits. I will convince her to wed me before he finishes reading them the 3rd time. Gideon smiled, so confident. He raised his tankard, saluting Cain. As usual, I am in awe. Cain grinned too. Wooing Ella Sutherland is just another game, and I win every game. So then we go over here to him trying to take his first step. Okay, so Ella was in the bath and he raps on the door and she loses her balance and falls forward, sort of back into the bathtub she had just gotten out. Cain frowned as he tried once again to coax the black and white feline off his head while balancing a tray of food. The large splash on the other side of the door made him lay his ear against it. Cack. Ella's voice held fury and she coughed, cursing further. Oh, he murmured as the kitten pierced his scalp with her needle-like claws. Perhaps the kitten and her new mistress had things in common, namely a hatred of him. I brought you some food. Are you well? Cain called. Leave it outside the door, she yelled. I also have a gift for you, Ella. His frown relaxed. Are you in need of assistance? No, she said, and he could imagine her snapping gray eyes trying to skewer him through the oak door. What I need is to be released from Gurnago and for you to leave Clan Sutherland alone. She may as well have asked to have wings to fly. I won't bother you, Cain said. I want only to deliver my gift and your food. And for you to surrender long enough to marry me, he thought. He had boasted to Gideon that he would convince her within the 3 weeks, and he would see the challenge won. He had changed into a fresh white tunic, a clean kilt after bathing, and the key to the door sat tucked into his sash. As if reading his mind, she yelled again, Do not pretend that you don't have a key to the door. What did that mean? Of course he had a key. Do you want me to come in with my key? Do what you want, Sinclair. Leave the food and gift or use your key. I will not be letting you into my cage. Needles pierced his head, startling him so that he bumped his forehead into the frame of the door. Blast ye wee beastie. Enough of this. Leaving the cat to cling to his head, Caden fished the iron key out of his sash and jammed it into the lock. The kitten flexed her other paw, jabbing him with more needles. The key turned and he pushed the door inward. Ella stood wrapped in the blanket from her bed, warmth from the fire filling the small room. She watched him warily. My gift is misbehaving, he said, his teeth clamped together as he tried to force a smile. It felt like a grimace. Cain bent his knees to lower enough so that he could walk through the small doorway with the kitten hissing on his head. The tray wobbled slightly as he entered, and he kept his gaze on Ella's face. Her glare melted into a look of surprise. For a long moment, she stared at the two of them. Cain waited, and the kitten pricked his scalp again, making his eye twitch as he tried to hold his smile. Walking forward, he set the tray on a small table near the hearth. A gift for you, Ella. The kitten is the smallest of her litter and is weaned from her mother. The other barn cats are not letting her have as much food, and she needs a protector, someone to make sure she eats. I suppose I can watch her while I'm here. You said it is a girl? Ella moved closer, and the smell of the floral soap that Merida had given her floated from her wet hair that was twisted up in the bathing sheet. Aye, and as you see, she is spirit. And she is scared to death way up there on top of a giant, Ella said, chastising him with a frown. Tucking the blanket tighter around her, she walked to him, dragging the length behind her like a cumbersome train. Bend, she demanded, and reached high to disentangle the kitten from Cain's head, her arms shaped with slender muscles. Here, sweet thing, she whispered, let me take you away from the big bad Sinclair. Cain bent his knees so she could pull the cat from him, its paws and claws extended wide. You know the kitten is also a Sinclair, he said, watching her bring the ball of black and white fluff to her face, touching her nose to the cat's little white one. The heavy blanket around Ella loosened, and she gasped as it fell to the floor. Stepping back, Ella tripped over the wool mass tangled around her feet. Cain's hand shot out, grabbing her arms to help her from falling backward. The kitten yowled and jumped from her onto the bed. The feel of him steadying her yanked back a long-ago memory. She had been young and smiling at the festival when he'd bumped into her, making her drop her bouquet of Scottish thistle. "Thank you," she said, and frowned as if she wished she could pull back, yanking out of his grasp. "You're all wet." Water drops sat along her collarbone, making him very thirsty. Gosh, what would the last taste like? She clutched her arms over her breasts and squatted to grab up the blanket to hold before her. "You startled me when you knocked." And he looked from her to the tub and back. Water was pooled across the floor. "And you fell in the tub?" "No. Well, yes, somewhat, not all the way." He took a quick mental inventory of the room. It was small, too small for his bulk, but it suited Ella. "You need a robe and another bathing sheet, a rug for the floor, and some rags for the water." She picked the kitten from the bed to hold before her, but the wee beast wiggled until Ella let her jump down to prowl about. "Do not forget to bring me a skian dube or matchclas," Ella said. "Those are sharp knives," Ella said, and clutched the blanket up to the base of her throat. Even half drowned, she was bonny and brave. Although she had little defense in being alone and half dressed with him in a small room, she was not cowering or weeping in a corner. Nay, the lass was asking for weapons. The side of his mouth tipped upward. "I will keep your request in mind."